as the lead designer, I came up with the idea. It was actually an idea that I had a couple years ago playing the Portal game, and I thought, if Portal can do something with space-time and traveling through portals, why can't we do something altering gravity?
Quasar is a game that tries to bend the perception of gravity to the players in order for them to kind of approach different obstacles from a completely different standpoint than what most people would really kind of think to approach it as. When we first started designing Quasar, we kind of came at it at an angle that if you would shoot your little Quasar gun at a wall, then that wall would then become the new floor for the player to stand on, and the player would then fall as if that was where the floor was.
I mean, when you're going through a regular level, and you see like objects on the ceiling, you see objects on the walls, you're like, well, what if those were on the floor? What if those were on the ceiling? What if those were on the walls? And that really gave me the inspiration for the game itself.
From the very beginning, we had a very big idea of what we wanted the game to be. And with the central mechanic of simply using the gravity gun to be able to manipulate your surroundings and to be able to travel and shift through this world, we wanted something that would make sense in the grand scheme of everything.
One technique that we used with Quasar was a text-to-speech program that we used to make our AI cow come to life.
Our team worked well together by having a process of generating ideas and trying to pick out the flaws of the team.
When we first put the game design document together, it was very jumbled. It was very, should we have it so that you can alter objects? Should we have it so you can just affect the player? Or is it overall, I mean, we had to cut a lot of things from the project, and that's what I feel. I mean, we had a very grandiose idea to begin with, and I feel like we had to cut a lot of the ideas.
One of the unique aspects that we came across as we were designing our levels was we understood how to implement our main mechanic of the gravity gun into the level design themselves. However, what we found was that we were having an issue incorporating the levels into our game, and we wanted to make sure that it made sense. It wasn't just this random hallway of you bouncing back and forth, you know, shifting gravity left and right just for the sake of using the mechanic. We wanted to make sure that it made sense that you would be in this spot, in this space station, you know, in whatever section of that.
The main flaw in our game we had to work around was the way that the gravity gun created a sense of distortion and confusion after it was used. We eventually ended up with a method of using guiding lights and the placement of the material that the gun can be used on to guide the player and prevent some distortion we previously encountered in the project.
We had a lot of workarounds that we had to do too, and because of that, that caused even more problems that we had to work around that too. And realizing that from the get-go, we could have avoided a lot of that.
Technique that didn't work was flipping the room around to simulate gravity changing. We can get the room to flip, but it still didn't go with our mechanic.
It was very much, we had to simplify the game rather than making it more complex.
Creating a menu with Flash Player and scale form was one of the most important things that I learned during the final project. It was not easy and it took a lot of work. Tutorials online were all outdated, but through trial and error I was able to figure out that file structure was the problem.
I think the one thing I really took away from everything is it's the amount of time that everything takes. You know, we had so many ideas that had to be scrapped. There were a number of changes that we had to make repeatedly, you know, from one week to the next.
Some skills that I learned throughout the development process, definitely cutting down on ideas. The ideas that we began with were very complex. They were very, it was a lot more of a workload.
Working with the techniques that we've learned now, I really think that the game we have is a fun game and very entertainable, and if we would start over again from complete scratch and start all the coding process again, then we would have a much more solid game overall.
At the end of the day, I'm really proud of the game that we were able to create. It really plays to our strengths.
Except I think that our game came together not necessarily as a completely different project, but as a project that seemed to fit a lot better with the concept that we were going for.